We get a lot of requests from customers who are wanting to add some bass to their vehicle, but they don't want to lose the cargo space under their back seat. So what we did is we came up with a solution that fits behind the back seat in the location where the factory subwoofer would go, and this is what we came up with. So this is only going to come preloaded because, again, we spent a lot of time designing it. I know that a couple of woofers are going to excel in this small airspace. We're also going to supply all the amplifier wiring and everything that you need for this installation, and we're going to ship it all bundled up and installed and ready to go. So you're going to take a package out and you're going to drop it into the truck and install it. The other thing that we're doing is we are taking care of what input the factory system or the new system needs to work with your factory sound system. Anything you do to upgrade anything in your sound system, even just replacing door speakers, you're going to have to bypass that active noise cancellation. So we have a harness that we supply that is going to integrate and plug in at the factory amplifier or at the ANC module on the bass audio packages that is going to allow us to integrate with that factory system. Everything that you need, literally, for a bolt-in, plug-and-play audio package. I mean, this is a fantastic little kit. So let's get started on the installation and see what we can do.
So we're gonna unplug the lights first that come into the bottom of the seats, or the sensors, whatever. They're on either end here. This one's a reclining seat, so the front bolts are an E12. We're gonna go ahead and take this driver's side out first. Now we're gonna go ahead and take these front ones out. We're gonna go across all four of the front, just because it makes it faster for us. And then we'll move to the back. Now I think I can get to the back. If I pull this is a limited, so there's a release back here. If I pull the latch, which is right here, now only the driver's side has this, passenger side doesn't. But I can get to the bolts in the back now a lot easier than the other way. All right, now we're gonna go to the other side. Again, being that this is limited, you'll have this flap here. Just pull it off. It's held on by magnets, you can see here. And then, like I was saying, to flip this forward, you have to reach back here and find the latch. Oh, okay, well, they changed this one. There is a latch on the back of these ones now. It didn't used to be that way. Okay, so I forgot to mention, when we're taking the passenger side seatbelt, you have to undo this seatbelt here. It goes through the middle and it's attached down here. So you just undo it with the 18. That's the same back bolts used.
So now we're going to pull this back carpet off.
All right, to do that, we use a hook tool and then a Torx bit to take this actual last one off. It is a T50. This middle one pops out relatively easily. And then you have two here on the ends and then one down here in the bottom. And the last one's all the way down here and it's really hard to get to. I'm gonna grab another style hook to get to that one. Now that we have all those taken out, we can actually take this back padding off. So we typically start here in the middle and then we can pull one side out and you'll just pull from there. You need to make sure you pull around where the seatbelt hooks are. This is just what's gonna be holding it, so just give it a nice little jerk. It's not gonna hurt anything. I mean, just pull just like that. Okay, now that we have all this stuff taken out in the back, the seats are out, the back thing is out, we can talk about what's back here. So this is a 23 limited truck. So this does have the e-torque on it, which is what this battery is here for. This is a 40 volt system, so do not in any way, shape or form try and get into this. It will kill you. Down here is the wiring for this and the grounds. Please don't use these grounds for grounding your system. That's not what those are for. Now we're gonna take out the factory woofer. So first things first, we're gonna just unplug here. We're gonna use that later when we integrate back with one of our boxes. These lower bolts down here at the bottom are gonna be a 10 millimeter. I don't care what you use, as long as it's a 10 millimeter. And then these top ones are a 13. That's all you need to take it out. So you have 4 bolts total. So we'll go ahead and start taking these bottom ones out. And these bottom ones we do reuse when we put our new box that we have designed for the back here. So you will reuse these. You don't need to reuse those. Now that everything's undone, you just pick it up, move it out of place. That's it. Now our box will drop into here. All right, so before we actually get the new box in place, a couple things. These child restraint holders need to come out. We have to take these bolts out here, and we actually supply with longer bolts. This is what's actually going to locate the box in the back and attach it to the vehicle. So we're gonna go ahead and take those out now real quick. These are a 13 mil. And you'll notice on the back there's a retainer here. You'll have to cut that in order to take the bolt out. So we'll do that in a second. If you just get under it and twist it, you'll pop one of those loose and then just twist the rest of it around. Just like that. Once you get one part started, the rest of it will come off. And you can pop the bolt out. All right, these actually go back in. These are gonna stay in the truck. So you'll just push the clip back in, and then our box will sit over top of this. So down here, these two holes here are where the factory subwoofer bolted in at the bottom. Doesn't matter if you have Harman Kardon like this truck, or Alpine, or just the base model. You will have these holes. They'll actually be covered up like this if you have a base model. You can pull the stickers off and then you have these holes. If you have a base model, you'll get these two screws here that'll allow you to locate the bottom locating pins. So these will allow you to locate the box. The box is located in 4 spots, so it has the 2 attachment points here, 2 attachment points here.
All right, so once you have the factory subwoofer out, you can bring this one back in. There's a cable for the power window, and you just have to make sure it's up and out of the way. And then your bottom bolts from the factory subwoofer holes. If you have the base audio package, you don't have Harman and Alpine, there's threaded inserts that are in the floor that are covered in tape. So on every package that these trucks come with, all the threaded stuff, like all the seats, everything's completely interchangeable. So the holes are here under the carpet. You just may have to trim a little carpet in order to get to them. And you can use either the factory bolts or you can use our new bolts that we supply. There we go. Now this is where your seatbelt goes. It will still fit, but your plug here, this is off of the factory Harman plug that we showed you earlier. This plugs in to our plug and you can just tuck that out of the way. Now all we have left is our power wire, our ground, and the remote for the bass knob. And as you can see, this truck has the eTorque battery and we have plenty of room. Honestly, we could probably even go over another ½ inch or more if we wanted to. So this will work with the eTorque systems. Absolutely no reason that it will not. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you how we like to run the wires, give you a couple different options, and then we're gonna walk you through a couple different options on doing your ground. Your ground is incredibly important. As Austin mentioned earlier, you have a couple of factory ground points back here that are for different modules on the back wall, but also for the eTorque system. There are people who have tested and say that this factory ground is fantastic, but with the eTorque system, I would not use it because Mopar, when they designed this system, they said this is ample enough for this battery to do what it needs to do. We do not need to add more load to it. So we're gonna show you how to do a ground our way. Also, we're gonna show you how to run these wires. On this system, it's really hard to get up under here and actually secure the wiring to something. There's no signal wires or anything back here, so running them up next to this battery and the factory wiring is not a problem at all. But on the base audio packages, or the vehicles without the eTorque, there's a bundle of wires similar to this that run along the bottom here. And you can secure and zip tie the new wires up to that harness and get them out of the way. All right, we're gonna go over grounding real quick so we can go over a couple different options for you. The main thing is we need to be to bare, fresh steel, meaning no paint, no primer. We want shiny, plain, empty metal. Old school way is using a wire wheel that you put inside of a drill. You can also just do sandpaper if that's all you have. I've seen people do a very good job using a flathead screwdriver, as long as it's to bare, shiny steel. And then we want a good solid contact. So we're gonna show you a solid way to do it that is safe for any person who's doing it at home. We like using self-tapping screws if we're doing a low-powered setup. These will screw straight into the sheet metal. They'll screw through the ring terminal. If you want to do something, the next step up would be doing a nut and bolt. The trick is, one, you need 2 people. 2, you got to make sure where you are through here that you're able to get to it from the back side. So we're going to show you about, cleaning off the metal. This back here is a real solid, good area. There's a lot of frame, a lot of reinforcement around it. It's going to make good solid contact. We like using a little grinder that we keep back here for that purpose. All right, see, we have shiny metal. You can see, even with what's being removed, you can see some metal. So that tells us that we know we're on a good, solid, clean surface. And what we do, we will do 2 screws. So we use the first screw to make sure that that is holding the ring terminal down onto the metal, so we're getting good, solid contact. Then we use a second screw to go through the ring terminal so we lock everything together. That is not going to go anywhere. So for, like I said, a good, easy home option, this is fantastic. We send you some screws to go with the kit so that you can do a ground the way that we like to. This is not moving. It is not going anywhere. And that is about as good as you can get other than doing a bolt.
So I already went ahead and ran these under here. So I just tucked the wires through here and then just under the cable here and under the battery vent here. And now they're out here. So we'll just put that carpet here and then these wires will come out through here. So the easiest way without having to pull this panel up and all this, take the seatbelt off, is to actually pull this side piece here and we can fish behind it. So what we'll do is we'll route our wires up and over. We'll also go ahead and pop this lower trim piece real quick. We're at it because our wires are going to run down this way as well. So when we pop this out, we'll run our wires down here and you can tuck them along here. Or if you'd like, I've done it multiple times, you can open up this trough and run your wires through there. It's very time consuming because you have to cut tape and pull it off the whole thing. So doing it this way works just as well. All right, when we get to this one here, we'll pull this up. We're gonna lift this and we're just gonna tuck it under. Okay, now that we have the wires back up that way and they're tucked up under there, we can go ahead and tuck these back where we want them, up under. We'll put our panel back in, make sure everything's clipped up. We'll put this one in as well, put this in there. All right, now we can put this back on. And then we can finish putting our trim piece back up. Just like that. And then go ahead and tuck this ground wire back up as well, so that way it's not a snag point for anything. Let me pull the seat forward and I'll show you how to do the ANC on this. All right, so as Paul talked about earlier, all the kits come with the ANC bypass. I've already actually installed one in here because I did the speakers earlier in the morning. So this is what it is. It's an ANC bypass that we have made for us specifically. This is a net audio ANC bypass. But this one is installed here at the amplifier. So I'll pull this one out. When you get down to your amplifier here or your bass module system, you'll have a plug down here. It's a white plug either at the amplifier itself or just the ANC module too. You just find your white plug here and you go ahead and just unplug it. And then you plug this end in here. And then you plug it back into either the amplifier or the ANC module. And then just tuck this up out of the way. All right, so we're gonna continue running our power wire and our bass knob wire. So we stopped up here when I pulled around to the front. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull up this trim piece here. We're going to start with the corner and then just lift up very slowly. And be careful not to get these caught on your fingers. So then we'll pick up this, we'll tuck our wires back under. All right, now we're gonna set the trim back in. All right, we'll put this piece back down here too. Now we have our power wire and our remote wire up here. So I like to run them through right here. And then we'll put a zip tie right here to attach them and hold them, so that way they don't move and get caught on other things as well later. The remote wire is going to go up into the dash, and the power wire is going to lead up under the dash through the firewall. All right, so this is a little bit harder to see, but I'll run a zip tie through here in just a second. There's a little nipple down here coming off the factory grommet, but what we did is we cut a slit in it, so that way you can run your power wire through. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run the zip tie through it now, and we'll be able to see a little bit better. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm taping up the long zip tie to the power cable that's coming through the nipple. What that's gonna do is allow us to pull it through there and feed it without getting snagged up or caught on anything. A little bit, good. So this is gonna be the laser etched fuse block that you will likely see in your kit as well.
All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna remove this 10 millimeter, and we're putting a spacer.
All right, now we have our bracket in. We're gonna tighten it down.
And we're gonna attach to right there with this side of the wire.
So this right here is a 12 that we're gonna attach our lead to for the fuse block. So we're just gonna go ahead and undo that now and tighten her up. What we want to do is we want to be able to fit the cover back on here. So when you put your cover back on, you want to make sure your wire is routed this way out through here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a zip tie over here, just right on the outside of this. That way it'll hold it right there. We should be able to fit our cover back on just like that. If you have just the subwoofer only package, you'll have a fuse that you can put in here. This is going to be an easily replaceable item. So we're going to put a 50 amp fuse in here. So I'll grab that now out of our bucket. We're just going to load this into the cap first, and then we're going to stick it in here. And that's nice and secure and ready to go. For the power wire, we're actually going to zip tie it up back here so that way it doesn't get caught or dropping on anything. And that is the power wire for your system as well. We're going to put our trim piece back on here. Now that everything's ran up through here, we have our remote wire that's dangling down. We're going to find a spot for that here in just a second. There's a couple different spots that we can go with, so you really need to ask yourself where you want to put it. We're going to put this panel back on. All right, so that panel's in.
So we're going to talk real quick about tuning. So we have a lot of settings on the amplifier. So let's go down the row. We have our input source, and what this input is it changes the sensitivity of the amplifier. So in simplest terms, it's almost like you have two gains. One is for a small signal, one is for big signal. Since we're taking this signal straight from the factory amplifier, this is a big signal. So we want this switch switched over to the 10 volt to 50 volt switch. So that's, flip that. The gain, we'll do that with music playing. Bass boost, then we have the width of the curve, and we have the frequency of the boost. So this is one of the things I really love about the amplifier. So instead of it having a bass boost that's set at one frequency, like say a Rockford Fosgate amplifier, that punch EQ is 45 Hertz. No matter what you do, it's 45 Hertz. So it's like you taking the bass on the radio and turning it up, but it only adjusts the subwoofer amp. So with this amp, we can choose the amount of boost, which is normal, but we can choose the frequency that it boosts at. So we tested the factory signal earlier, and I know that the deeper bass kind of fizzles away. So what we're using this for is to correct for the factory EQ. So we have the frequency just barely above 30. We're catching the deeper bass. We have the curve with the width is how many frequencies next to 30 Hertz that it's affecting. So if it's narrow, then we're focusing directly around 30 hertz. If it's wide, then we're affecting all sorts of frequencies around it. So we're just barely above narrow, so we're trying to really focus down around that 30, 35 hertz range. And then boost wise, it goes 0 to 12. I'm at roughly about 4 or 5 decibels of boost. So not a lot of boost. We do not need much, but this, I tell people, this is kind of like salt and pepper. Get it playing first and then see if you need to add more boost. Then the last two, we have subsonic filter and a low pass filter. So what the subsonic filter does is blocks off the really deep stuff. So if you have a ported box, the rule of thumb is you're supposed to adjust the subsonic filter to the frequency matching the tuning of your ported box. And then the low pass filter blocks the highs off of the subwoofer. Normally we will tell you, yes, hook this up like this. So if you have the ANC system or the base audio package, then you're gonna set these differently. Since we're catching the signal from the Harman Kardon amplifier, that signal has already been filtered. It's not a big full range signal, it's already really small. They're blocking off the deep stuff and blocking off the high stuff. So I have the subsonic turned all the way down to the smallest number at 10, and I have the low pass filter turned all the way up at 500 hertz. So that way these crossovers are not going to affect what we're playing out of our sub. We're gonna use the factory processing from the Harman Kardon amp. If you use these, the problem is that these controls inside the amplifier are designed for a big signal. And they're all just resistors and capacitors and all that analog stuff. But since you're not feeding it big signal, you're feeding it small signal that's already super limited, you don't know what this is gonna do. It's not designed for that. So, and I don't care if it's our amplifier or if you're putting another system in. This is the way you're supposed to tune systems when you're catching the signal from the factory sub. So subsonic is all the way off, low pass is all the way up, so that way it can play, only what we're wanting it to. Once you play your music, turn the radio up to around 30 or so that way we're making sure we're getting a clean signal from the radio, and you're going to turn the gain up until this clipping light starts to flicker. Clipping is just the fancy technical term for distort. So once it starts distorting or clipping the audio signal, that light's gonna come on, and that's your sign, oh crap, something bad is going on. Turn the gain down just a hair, and then listen to some different types of music. Make sure it stays clean. Leave the bass EQ on the radio at 0. We don't need a whole bunch of bass boost. This is gonna take care of the bass. And that's how you're gonna set the amp. It's really straightforward. We're gonna play some music stuff here in a minute, and that way you can at least, see the subwoofer playing. All right guys, so once you get everything playing and tuned up and working like you want it to, assembly just goes back together the reverse of how it came apart. The only real trick is the seat belt roll up for the shoulder belt. It is a snug fit, but it does fit in there, and it does allow easy movement of the seat belt to be rolling in and out of it. It does slide across the face of the box, but it was designed to do that. So it's perfectly normal. As you saw with that truck did have Harman Kardon, so it did have the recline. So the reclining back seats, all that stuff still functions. The only thing remaining to do that we didn't show you was trimming the back carpet panel. That's the only real permanent modification. So if you do want to put the carpeted panel back in there, then trim it around so it fits around the subwoofer enclosure and also around the amplifiers. We want those amplifiers to be able to breathe in order to stay cool. The reclining seats, you have quite a bit more space back there. On the regular seats, it all still fits right back in there perfectly fine. There's plenty of room for the amplifiers and everything back there. You know, like I said, we want to trim that carpet. This truck with the reclining seats, once we did trim that area, it is visible if you do ride with the center armrest folded down, so that it may be a concern for you. Just depends, like I said, how you want things to look and how you want them to function. If you never use the center armrest, then it may not be a big deal. So that's really going to be up to you and how you want to proceed with that. On the rest of the truck packages, if you really don't want to modify anything, you don't even have to put the carpet back in there. It is purely a cosmetic piece. It has very, very little sound control as far as like blocking road noise or anything like that. It's really just to finish off the back wall and that back area. Even if you do cut it and then you decide you want to put everything back to factory, that panel is a very minor part if you do have to rebuy it. But other than that, everything is completely bolt-in. The one that we showed you in the installation was the Harman Kardon package. If you have the Alpine system, it's the exact same concept. It's just a different plug at the subwoofer. As far as mounting it, bolting it in, and running your power wire and all that stuff, it's the exact same across all packages. What we have in front of you here, this is one that we mocked up for doing a full sound system replacement. So this one is if you have the ANC package, so that'd be the second tier package where you have the 6 microphones in the headliner instead of just 2. And that ANC module is under the driver's seat. So if you have that package, you can get an entire 5-channel setup with the subwoofer amp and the 4-channel amplifier. That amplifier is going to give you around 50 watts per door speaker, and since the dash speakers are an 8-ohm speaker, it's only going to be around 25 watts. So same stuff applies as far as like way more control capability because we now have an amplifier. A lot of people with these Rams will complain because as you turn the volume up, once you get above 20, people say that the volume quits increasing. So once you have an amplifier in there, now you're eliminating the active noise cancellation box. You're giving you more control, so we're going to be able to dial in and get that stuff to work as you expect it to. Same rules apply as far as setting the gain and everything. You have crossovers on that amplifier, and that's going to allow you to block the bass off your door speakers. And then you turn the gain up playing music until the clipping light flashes. That gives you an indication that it's distorted. Back it off a little bit. And even if you have a brand new truck with factory speakers, that amplifier will make them sing. We've done it countless times. People always complain about distortion, and generally it's not the speakers distorting, it's the radio. The radio doesn't have enough power supply to handle any sort of actual bass or high volume. So the power supply on the factory amplifier distorts. So when you give it good clean power and you block the bass off, you're limiting the distortion because the amplifier controls. Your factory speakers will surprise the heck out of you. If you put it in and then you still want more, well, now you have a rock solid foundation and you can upgrade the door speakers. So this is a fantastic way to get this ball rolling, to get you a big improvement on the factory sound system as far as from factory speakers. This will give you the bass for your package, for you to have plenty of bottom end in order to balance things out. And we have all of these options spelled out on the website. Now, this is a brand new product. We've only done a few of them locally. We are going to be making some rolling changes to certain things as they go. You know, the more times we put them in, the more customers we put them in and they say they had issues or whatever. You know, we want feedback on this, so there might be some small changes, but as far as the installation and all that stuff and the guideline goes, it's all going to be roughly the same. But if you have any questions or issues, concerns, give us a shout. You can call the shop at 940-767-1800. Shoot us an email at netaudiowf@gmail.com. We'll keep all this stuff up to date on the website, but we'll also have make a post about it on our Facebook page and Instagram, and you can see different content and ask questions and talk to other people on there. So other than that, man, just check us out, like the video. If you have questions, you can hit us in the comments and we'll help you out. Thanks, guys.